Okay, let's get right into it. We're going to look at a piece of tech news that honestly seems kind of minor, almost like a footnote, but it has the power to silently reshape a multi-trillion-dollar industry. Now, this isn't a story about some flashy new phone. It's a story about software and how it's about to solve a very, very expensive problem.
So, on the surface, the announcement was, well, let's be honest, it was boring. Nokia and their partner, Rohde & Schwarz, said they tested a new AI-powered 6G receiver, and it improved efficiency by about, 10 to 25%. In the tech world, that's an incremental update. That's not a revolution. Or at least that's what it seemed like.
But this is where the mystery really starts. Why on earth is this small technical improvement being called a silent disruption? I mean, how can a modest little efficiency gain in a lab possibly change the future for giants like Verizon or AT&T? That's the big question we're going to unpack together.
To really get this breakthrough, we first need to understand this huge economic problem that's been haunting the future of wireless. It's this fundamental clash between the laws of physics and the laws of finance. And trust me, it's been keeping telecom CEOs up at night for a while now.
Okay, so here's the challenge in a nutshell. 6G needs to use higher frequency radio waves to give us all that incredible speed and capacity we hear about. But there's always a catch, right? The higher the frequency, the shorter the signal's range. It just doesn't travel as far. So for 5G, you can spread the towers out. But for 6G, the old playbook said you'd need a brutally dense, and therefore brutally expensive, network of new towers just to get basic coverage.
And this number, this isn't just a line item in a budget. For a single major carrier, this is the potential extra cost just to get nationwide 6G coverage. I mean, for an industry that's already dealing with pretty tight margins, that kind of spending isn't a speed bump. No way. It's a brick wall standing between us and the future of wireless.
And this is where the genius of Nokia's move comes into play. Instead of fighting physics with more hardware, more steel towers, more concrete, their solution uses pure intelligence. It's part of this massive shift we're seeing everywhere, solving physical world problems with software. They chose software over steel.
So what is this thing really? Well, the best way to think about it is like a pair of super intelligent, noise-canceling headphones, but for radio signals. See, as a signal travels through the air, it gets messy and distorted. A normal receiver just gives up on the weakest parts of that signal. But this AI model has been trained on tons of simulations, cityscapes, bad weather, all kinds of interference. So it recognizes the patterns of distortion and digitally reverses them in real time. It literally pulls a clean, usable signal out of what used to be just worthless noise.
The process itself is it's elegant. The receiver gets a messy signal. The AI instantly goes, I know that type of distortion. It then applies a perfect, custom-made inverse filter to cancel it out, and voila, a clean signal is recovered. But here's the most crucial part. This is a software upgrade. It can run on the infrastructure that's already out there, extending the range and performance of the towers carriers already own.
And this right here is where the entire economic model for 6G completely flips on its head. By making every cell site way more effective, you aren't just saving a little bit of money, you're fundamentally changing the entire business case for the rollout. Remember that multi-billion-dollar brick wall we talked about? Well, it just got a whole lot smaller.
You know what's also fascinating? It's who did this. When you think about the 6G patent race, you're usually thinking about giants like Huawei and Samsung. But this game changer came from Nokia, and it proves something really important. The future isn't necessarily going to be won by the company with the most patents. It might just be won by the one that solves the most painful, unglamorous, real-world money problems for its customers.
And the timing? Oh, it's a total masterstroke. The global standards for 6G aren't even set in stone yet. So, by demonstrating a working, economically smart solution right now, Nokia is effectively setting the bar. They're influencing the rules of the game for everybody else before the game is even officially started. It's a brilliant move.
But, like any powerful new technology, this whole breakthrough isn't some magic silver bullet. When you solve one massive problem, you'll often end up creating new, more subtle ones. And these new risks, they're just as important for us to understand.
All right, let's take a closer look. First, there's AI fragility. A model that's great at handling rain in city buildings might just fail spectacularly when it sees a freak blizzard for the first time, something it wasn't trained for. Second, security. A receiver that's smart enough to decode messy signals could, in theory, be tricked by an adversary to listen in and map out weaknesses in the network. The AI's biggest strength becomes a potential backdoor. And finally, you've got the standardization minefield. If every vendor, Nokia, Ericsson, Samsung, creates their own secret AI sauce, carriers could get locked in. The seamless global network we all rely on could become this fractured mess of incompatible systems.
So, we've got this powerful new tool, but it also comes with these hidden risks. The big question is, how does the future of the telecom industry actually change? Let's explore 3 different ways this could all play out over the next decade.
Okay, path number 1 is the most straightforward. Let's call it the incumbent victory. Basically, 6G just rolls out faster and cheaper, but the business model of selling us data plans pretty much stays the same. Then there's a more transformative path, the edge inversion. This is where carriers realize they're not just selling connection anymore. They're selling signal intelligence itself, creating totally new services. And then, well, there's the messy one, geopolitical fragmentation, where competing AI standards basically create digital borders and fracture the whole global network.
Now, one of the most interesting ideas to come out of this is the rise of AI as a service, but for networks. Instead of trying to build their own AI, carriers could just license really powerful optimization models from specialized companies. Think of it like an NVIDIA, but for telecom. This could create a whole new sub-industry that's just dedicated to making our networks smarter. To really see how this could work, let's have a little fun. Let's invent a startup for a second. We'll call it EdgeRx. It's a company designed specifically to thrive in this new world by solving the new problems that this disruption creates. Now, EdgeRx wouldn't build any hardware. No way. Instead, it would create the one thing every single carrier is going to desperately need, an operating system for receiver AI. Basically, a neutral layer that lets them run any AI model from any company on any piece of equipment from any vendor.
The value here would be absolutely immense. Suddenly, carriers are free from being locked into one vendor. They could switch AI models as easily as we switch apps on our phones. They could license pre-built templates for different situations, one for maximum coverage, another for super low latency. It would totally transform network AI into a competitive, open marketplace.
So, what does this all actually mean for you? Let's boil this all down into the key strategic questions that this breakthrough forces everyone in the industry, and even outside of it, to start asking themselves. First things first, if a carrier suddenly saves billions of dollars on their 6G rollout, what do they do with all that cash? Do they just build the network even faster? Return it to shareholders? Or do they invest it in completely new services that haven't even been invented yet? The answer to that question will probably define the winners and losers of the next decade.
And this might be the most critical question of all. Who really owns the network's brain? If a carrier just relies on its vendor's proprietary AI, are they actually in control of their own destiny anymore? Or have they effectively just outsourced the most strategic, most important part of their entire infrastructure?
And finally, think about this for a second. With 5G, we were promised things like augmented reality glasses and autonomous drones, but the network rollout was slow. So if 6G arrives 2 or 3 years ahead of schedule thanks to this kind of tech, what new applications, what killer app that we can't even imagine today suddenly becomes possible? You know, in the end, this whole story isn't about some revolutionary breakthrough in physics. Nokia didn't invent a new type of radio wave. They just found a really clever, software-driven way to make the next generation of technology affordable. They solved an economics problem. And that's how you reshape an industry. It's a great reminder that the most profound disruptions often aren't about creating some brand new technology, but about rewriting the financial rules that let that technology reach the entire world.